Sex, porn, love addiction is all about self soothing to manage your emotions. It got set up back in the childhood development years. It's just not about sex, it's not about porn. It's all about the repeated use has set up the physiology to crave those dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, self manufactured drugs in the body. It's impacting women, men, children aged 10 to 75 across all the age ranges, the sexes, the cultures, the professions. It increased exponentially during COVID lockdown and impacting so many lives. The Kairos Centre has created the first online comprehensive sex porn love addiction. It's a video on demand recovery program which you can access from anywhere in the world and begin to see identifiable changes just within 6 weeks of beginning this weekly program. Kairos means your appointed time. Isn't it your time to reclaim your life? Bring colour back to life without shame. Click the link below and begin your journey. You owe it to yourself and to others.
From that side of things of breaking out and having that courage, I'm going to put it, having the courage to break out and dealing with, expectations. The term toxic masculinity is being thrown around a lot, and I've been trying to understand what that is from the perspective of, okay, is it something specifically exclusively male, or is it, what is it? Because when I look at it and people describe, behaviors that are toxic masculinity that fit within that category, I'm going, well, that's not just a male behavior. There's women that do that too. So from your perspective, when a young man might be experiencing someone talking about toxic masculinity, how should they process that? Is it something where we give a lot of attention to, or is it, I mean, one person described it as just being a jerk, which is like, we don't want to be jerks, but that's, again, not a male trait to just be a jerk. I mean, that can be both genders.
There's some things, there's some fights that we should do, but there's some wars that we should just leave alone and just move on. You see, once somebody's chucked that term at you, you're now trying to fight backwards from something somebody's carrying, and you'll never
Mm.
change them. You see, I just wrote something and I tried to find it, and all right, why don't we talk about aggressive feminines? Is that how you see me? And but it's terms that maybe they're just some fights we just leave alone and just
Mm,
be who we need to be, because you won't change other people. The term, the label, you will not persuade them,
I love
Your
that.
Honor. You can argue with your evidence and say, but you will not change some. So sometimes those labels is note it. If it's my children, I'll say and say, these names that people are calling you, let's talk about that and I'll help. But in other situations, you may not get to preach to others and say, hey, this term toxic, why does it have to be used? It's horrible. Hey, this term aggressive feminine, why does it have to be used? Well, there are some that are going to want that. And if you create a niceness of men gathering together, and then somebody says, "Hey, you group in that, you're toxic masculine, you people meeting up in that group. Stop. You're not doing good." And the intimidation is great. And now we have to break up our group of men because somebody's given it a label. And I say, "Hey, there are some fights. Maybe we just leave alone.
I, I
Maybe we
love
just."
I love that response from the perspective of putting a framework about being manly for advice for men, young boys and men. What you're basically saying there is sometimes it's you're assessing the fight and going, is it worth having, and just walk away. Um, I mean, because
Think
my
about the
son,
energy.
my son's, he's got just recently got his black belt in karate, and the sensei there has become a good friend over the years. I mean, he too works with both men and women, both perpetrators and victims of violence and abuse, and that's the space he works in. And he has what he calls the 5 Ds of dealing with conflict, and the first one is distance. And is that, when we're talking again about this framework, sometimes, like you say, some people are not gonna, you're never gonna change them. So you're going to get spending all this energy having a discussion about something that's not going to go anywhere. Is it better just to let it go?
And what energy have you then got left to be doing the fight that you want to, or journey, if not
Mm.
maybe if trying to make that bigger difference over here?
Impact the
You're
way that has
exhausted.
a beneficial
Yeah,
effect. Let's
because
put
you're
it that way.
exhausted.
Yeah.
You're exhausted and trying to deal. And actually, what's happened is you got neutralized from being the best that you can be, because you went and tried to fight some war that was really, you were never gonna make a big impact in, and now you have been emasculated from being able to fight the proper war.
Well, and I love that from the perspective because you've opened my eyes in the sense of something that I just do. Because if there's a what I consider to be an irrational discussion, and I'm not saying the other person is irrational, it's just the discussion is going to be irrational. I'll just shut up because and this is what I love because you can't
Absolutely.
argue with someone that's not going to argue.
It's shadow boxing. There's only so long you can keep boxing against a shadow that you're going to stop at some point. Yeah. And it's, don't give them a target. Just
Yeah.
shut up. Because harness that skill set that you have and use it in an appropriate way over here.
Mm. I love that.
Harness it.
You're not giving someone the energy to have the fight because that's probably what they're looking for. They're not looking for
But they are going to
resolution.
take it out of you. But you've given away your energy
Yeah.
by doing that fight. They're sapping you like a parasite in the true sense of what a parasite does, which is to suck out of you. Don't give them you.